It's time to defend the border, defend Israel, defeat Marx, defeat Mohammad, and make America great again. Welcome to Enemies of the State with Tom Trento.
Are you on, Tom? Tom, you gotta turn your video on. Wake up.
Wow, what's up? What's going on? What are we doing?
It's showtime.
No, it's National Nap Day. It's National Nap Day. I'm taking a nap. Don't you know that?
I actually got a thing for you here. Actually, I have the National Nap Day. I know. I got to turn it off.
It's National Nap Day. Show the folks what we're talking about. And today, ladies and gentlemen, the first day after jumping ahead, springing forward, where everybody loses an hour of sleep, today literally is National Napping Day, March 10th, 2025. Welcome to Enemies of the State. I am the world's greatest proponent of taking a nap every day. You see, through high school, I sort of had friends help me with a bunch of stuff. And even when I got into college doing my first degree, I had friends helping me with stuff. Then my life changed. I became a born-again Christian, and I went to a serious school. Didn't even know if I could do the work. And I got up very early in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock, worked all day. But 3 o'clock every afternoon, studying like crazy in windy, cold Chicago, I would fall asleep like this. And that's 40 years ago or whatever. And almost religiously every day I could tell you the time of day by my body. I could tell you it's 27 minutes after 2 o'clock. 2:30 to 3 o'clock, my body starts slowing down. I stop wherever I am. If I'm driving, I'll pull off into a rest stop. 20-minute, half hour. I'm good till about 11 o'clock at night. And right now I get up every day, probably 4 o'clock. And I need that nap. Today's National Nap Day. And those of you who like naps, you know what I'm talking about. We got a great show today. In a little bit, special guest and a dear friend of ours for many, many years, Clare Lopez, subject matter expert in everything in the world. In particular, today we're talking about Iran, a couple of other items. Claire will be with us. We have Mayor Deb handling Q&A questions. This is not your typical Zoom meeting where it looks like the Brady Bunch, all the faces are there. This is a Zoom webinar for our guests, our audience. It's akin to a lecture hall at a university. You come in, you sit down. People on the stage are doing the presentations today, Claire and I. You are not seen and you are not heard, you who are attending. So you can be in your underwear and watch this show. You can be on the beach. You could be anywhere and participate. It's interactive. You can go at the bottom of your screen to Q&A, questions and answers. You write the questions. We'll give you the answers. Mayor Deb is monitoring all of that. So we want to make this a half hour where you give us a half hour of your valuable time. We'll catch up on what's going on. We'll tell you what the week looks like. Trump is flipping everybody out from the Middle East to Asia to Canada to Mexico, flipping us out. And I'm 10 minutes from Mar-a-Lago right now, but it's good. It's good stuff. He is undoing what the deep state has done and what they did to him in his 45 term, 47. What a phenomenal ride. But as we move forward in this week, we want to remember those who have committed themselves to serving in the United States military. And I have an Aaron Vaughn shirt on. Those of you who follow United West, you know that the Vaughns, Billy and Karen, dear friends of ours, They lost their son, Aaron, on August 6th, 2011, when a helicopter was shot down in Afghanistan, and um, uh, 30 members of the United States military, many of whom were SEAL Team 6 operators, as was Aaron, died in that shoot down. We've done a lot of work. We helped in the production of a movie on it. Well, a couple of days ago, the Vaughn family, they started a ministry, if you will, an outreach called Operation 300, because the SEALs were likened to the 300 Spartans. And last week they had a fundraiser in Stuart, Florida, and everyone's invited. And if you ever want to come to a great event, 400, 500, 600 people who are there, and a lot of SEALs are there. This one happened to be, Mark, scroll it down a little bit. This happened to be at a car museum. They call it Cars and Stars. The other direction is down, Mark. Yeah, the other direction. The other down. There you go. There you nope. Cars and Stars. Stars and Cars. We have been to them. In fact, one of them we went to a few years ago. Their special guest speaker was their dear friend, who happens to be the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. He's still very close to the Vaughn. So I want to remember not just the Vaughn family, but those who have given their life and those who are serving today. But there's another battle going on. There's an ideological battle, and that's what the United West has been in the forefront of for a very, very long time. And it can be illustrated today by what occurred over the weekend. In fact, two things over the weekend that bring to us very graphically this ideological battle. Clare Lopez, we'll have her in a bit. She was at an Iranian protest. What is that all about? Well, we're going to show you. She was there, and one of the ideological enemies of the United States is Iran. Well, another ideological enemy of the United States is the Hamas. Here's what happened over the weekend. Tom Holman, the DOJ, these boys and girls rounded up a jihadi on the campus of Columbia University. And you may have heard about it. Even the legacy media is talking about it. There he is right there. Palestinian activist arrested by ICE. Mahmoud Khalil is married to a U.S. citizen, his attorney says. Basically, the short story is this individual you see on the screen right there. He has been leading for a year and a half Hamas protests on campus, organizing not just First Amendment peaceful protests, but as recently as a few days ago, handing out literature with Hamas's logo on it. I mean, what more do you need to be a collaborator, material support for the Hamas designated terrorist organization than a piece of paper with their logo on it? What to go to Columbia to work with, to prepare them to deal with this sort of but immediately following his arrest, the Hamas media over in Qatar, over in Turkey, over in Gaza, what's left of them there, they released a strategy for their collaborating partners, university students, organizations like CARE and Students for Justice in Palestine. And here's what they say. Watch the next item up. Put this up, Mark. Okay. The U.S. action was the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil. The Hamas response is coming up on the screen in a minute. And basically, the Hamas response is very simple. It says, oh, you want to arrest one of our guys? Okay. And this is in the Jerusalem Post, but it is being covered elsewhere. Anti-Israel activists call for mass takeover. Are you following me with this? Hamas is calling for mass takeover of U.S. campuses to counter the crackdown that's being led by Tom Homan, ICE, the Department of Justice. The crackdown is to take Hamas collaborators off U.S. campuses, particularly if they're here at the gracious mercy of the United States government to allow them to study here as non-citizens, get them off the campus, throw them the hell out. Hamas says, yeah, well, we're fighting with bullets elsewhere, but we're fighting ideologically against all of you in the U.S., and we're calling for a nationwide mobilization of university students to shut down the campuses. Clare Lopez, what do you make out of Hamas calling for a nationwide uprising, intifada, on the U.S. campuses?
This is not. There
There
we go.
you go.
Okay, got it. I have an article actually that I have been trying to get published for about 2 weeks or more. It is about the state sponsors of that unrest on our campuses. And I specifically, in my article, if it ever gets published, call out both Turkey, which is the headquarters of the worldwide Muslim Brotherhood today, and also Qatar, which maybe shares equal billing with Turkey in that regard. And both of them are sponsors of the groups of the Muslim Brotherhood front groups. It's not the Muslim Brotherhood itself, it's their front groups. Students for Justice in Palestine, certainly one of those. And that is what is happening on our campuses, in addition to the Muslim Students Association, which is the first and the oldest of all of the Muslim Brotherhood front groups in America, on campus too.
All right, so you have an article. You do the link analysis to the origin or one of the reservoirs of the ideological battle, and we all know the Brotherhood has stated in their documents that their intent is to destroy America by using its own laws against us internally. What do you make out of what President Trump is doing with his executive orders and his movement on campus to change the dynamic where these people have had free reign until January 20th?
Well, a couple of things, and one of them I give credit to in the opening part of my to-be article, and that is our new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who issued a memorandum at the beginning of February, a month ago or so, and that memorandum established something called Joint Task Force October 7, JTF 10-7. And then associated with that, along with that, is another DOJ newly established task force to combat anti-Semitism, to backing to both of these initiatives. But what I write in my article is that if they actually do, DOJ up on its pursuit of the authors of 10-7 and those who fund and back them here in the United States, it's going to lead to a couple places that they may not expect, Turkey and Qatar. So we shall see where that goes.
Well, ICE scooped up Mahmoud Khalil, the Colombia agitator, and obviously his attorneys are crying alligator tears, First Amendment, First Amendment. He is not a U.S. citizen. He has a green card. He's married to a U.S. citizen. And they're arguing, I heard one of his attorneys this morning, this has to go through the courts. He has rights, all of that. Where is the line in your mind? And Claire, you put 20 years in at the CIA. You worked for Center for Security Policy. You've briefed the DOJ. I mean, you've got a huge background in national security. You have your own think tank, Lopez Liberty, right now, if anybody wants to get in touch with Clare. The First Amendment issue is sacrosanct to Americans. Where is the line? Did this guy, Mahmoud Khalil, did he step over the line, or is it, it's protected speech?
Well, I am not a lawyer. I should say that up front. The actual legal status of a permanent legal resident of the United States is going to have to be worked out in the courts, because he does have the green card, as we've heard. Maybe they're trying to revoke it. We'll have to see. But in terms of what he did and said, it could be argued, certainly in my mind, that that is material support to terrorism. Now, whether they'll pursue that or not, I don't know, remains to be seen.
All right, in your research, your analysis, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to ask a question of me or Clare, down the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A little section down there. Click on that, type in your question, and we will get to it in a bit. In your research, Clare, did you find any links, any connections of these campus groups to Iran?
No, not to Iran. More directly, as I said, to Turkey and to Qatar. Certainly, the ideology is the same in those all three countries. But in respects direct involvement in the campus chaos, no, not Iran. What I see Iran's regime doing more is infiltrating our government at the national security level. For example, with the Iran Experts Initiative that we heard about last year and before, the insertion of people like Robert Malley, now suspended from the State Department at the highest levels of our national security. That's where I see the Iranian effort at, but the Muslim Brotherhood, Turkey, and Qatar on our campuses.
All right, well, 10 years ago, folks, 10 years ago this year, 2015, Clare, the United West, and others were involved in a campaign to stop the deal. Stop the deal. I mean, we were on Capitol Hill yelling, stop the deal. What deal am I talking about, Clare? And what's the status of that deal? And where were you this weekend?
Well, first, real quickly, this weekend, I joined thousands of Iranian Americans downtown Washington, D.C. for the Iran Freedom Rally, Washington, D.C., with thousands of Iranians and supporters like me, who I am not Iranian, but supporting regime change in Iran, to support the Iranian people in their own quest to be free of this oppressive regime that came to power in a jihad revolution in 1979, been oppressing the people ever since. There were speakers there at the Capitol, and then the group waving Iranian flags in the 30-mile-an-hour winds we had on Saturday, moved to the White House. And at the White House, you can see the group here in the photo, the banner, no to a nuclear Iran, yes to a democratic Iran of the people, by the people of Iran. They're not looking for money. They're not looking for boots on the ground. They want support from our leadership, our president here in the United States and elsewhere, Europe, others, for their quest to be free of this regime.
And if you had to you said there were thousands there. Suppose you sampled sort of different demographics, age groups of the Iranians who were there, and you sat them down and you asked them, should the United States and Israel destroy the nuclear capability of Iran today, what would their answer be?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. But if we listen to what the Israelis are saying, if we listen to statements made recently by President Donald Trump himself, this past week, Trump sent a letter to the Supreme Leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei of Iran, seeking to negotiate an end to Iran's nuclear weapons program. And in a Fox News interview the following day, that would be Thursday this past week, March 6th, the president told the Fox News interviewer that he says to the Ayatollah, to the Iranian regime, we hope you're going to negotiate, quote, because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. He made clear that there is a military option on the table. Israeli statements have said the same. And just this last week, there were joint F-16 fighter jets, the Israeli IAF, together with U.S. B-52 bomber exercises run over this past week. Then, Friday, March 7, Trump spoke once again to reporters at the White House. And what struck me here was his sense of urgency. Here's a quote. We are down to final strokes with Iran. We're down to the final moments. Final moments. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon. We have a situation with Iran that something's going to happen very soon, end quote. And I know that that is what is going on because in both December and January, December 24, January 25 this year, I attended either in person or by Zoom briefings from the National Council of Resistance of Iran. That is the umbrella Iranian opposition group with headquarters in downtown Washington, D.C. Briefings that talked about how quickly the Iranian regime is accelerating its nuclear weapons program, very specifically working on the warheads, which I personally believe they already have, at least a small handful, working on installing those, mating them up to the nose cones of the ballistic missiles we know that they already have because they've already shot them at Israel back in April and in October of last year, 2024, not tipped at the time with nuclear weapons, but nuclear capable. So they are working, according to these briefings by the NCRI, on something called exploding bridge wire nuclear detonators. These are the explosive mechanisms by which a nuclear warhead is set off. That's the final step. That's why they're so urgent about President Trump is conveying such a sense of urgency, but so are the Iranian opposition groups like the NCRI.
Yeah, and the NCRI and the Israelis have phenomenal intelligence on the ground in Iran. So
Yes.
we know that the uranium has been enriched to bomb levels. They got enough.
Well, no, not actually yet. They at least the IAEA.
There's Israeli reports that they're there already. So
well, what they're saying is they're up at 60% enrichment, which is certainly highly enriched uranium. But the IAEA, International Atomic Energy, does not yet claim that they've reached weapons grade, which would be above 90%. I think they're probably already there in places like Fardo with thousands and thousands of centrifuges whirling away under a mountain. But the IAEA, so far, they're probably
and
over
we should
90.
always trust the IAEA. We should always trust the IAEA. In situations like this, you err on the side of assuming, and this brings into question the ideology of the Ayatollah, and I reference this in promoting this show. He's a 12er, and we've done interviews with Dr. Mordecai Kadar, who has shown us flyers of the Ayatollah Khomeini today, the one who's there now, in a phase of oscillation with a beam of light coming down, hitting him in the forehead. And the gist of that is that he is in communication with the 12th Imam, who they believe is alive, who is the messenger of Mohammad. But there's a fatwa, supposedly, that keeps them from not making a nuclear bomb, but using the nuclear bomb. So we got a whole different theological issue going on. But I think Mayor Deb has a question. What do you have for us, Deb?
Yeah, Sherry asked, why is President Trump looking for a deal with Iran instead of just bombing the nukes?
I think that that is his step one. Okay, President Trump is a businessman. He's a real estate developer. He's somebody who always looks first to negotiate. And then when that doesn't work, which it's not going to work because the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei already has replied back to Trump's letter of last week and said, no, we're not interested in negotiations. So we already know that's been rejected. But that's where President Trump starts. But then listen again, to what he said in these interviews I quoted you from Fox News this past week, because obviously we're down to the final moments, final moments. Something's going to happen very soon. He doesn't mean negotiations. He means that if the Iranian regime rejects negotiations, which they now have, then next steps will include military steps on the table.
Okay, Lucy asks, how did the terrorists in Syria exacerbate the nuclear weapon in Iran?
They're not connected anymore. The new regime in Damascus is led by Ahmed al-Shara, goes by the nom de guerre of al-Golani because his grandparents were from the Golan Heights. He and the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, in lightning fast fashion, took over Syria, deposed the former ruler Bashar al-Assad, who fled to Moscow, Russia, with his family, in short order in early December of last year, 2024. That ruler, al-Shara, that's his birth name. Al-Golani is his nom de guerre. Al-Shara and the HTS, short, are now going after all of the older regime's supporters, in particular the Alawites, also the Druze, and some Christians. There are very few Christians in Syria, but more to the point, they're going after them all if they are not aligned with HTS, which is really al-Shara himself and his HTS group. They're jihadis. They fought against the United States and the coalition under Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in Iraq back in the day. He is descended group-wise from al-Qaeda to a group called al-Nusra and now Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. They are jihadis. They do not change. They are wiping out any and all opposition. But because Iran's regime, when Bashar al-Assad was under attack, civil war back in the 2011, 12, 13, 14 timeframe, because Iran supported Bashar al-Assad, supported with IRGC even troops and Hezbollah, for that reason, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham wants nothing to do with Iran, and its daggers drawn with them.
Yeah, this is crazy. Since our report last week with Jeff, who spent a lot of time in Syria, things have unraveled so horribly. The latest number I saw today coming out of the Middle East, HTS has killed over 9,000 Alawites, 9,000 over the weekend, out of control. We got just a couple of minutes left. Mark, you have a question?
Oh, it's one of Deb has. Go ahead.
Oh, Deb, you got another question?
Yeah, one more. How certain are we that the intel with Iran's nukes is up to date? Are there any gaps, Claire?
I myself am convinced of the intelligence, and the reason, because Tom mentioned it just a bit ago, is that the Iranian resistance, specifically the Mujahideen Khalq, which is a member of the largest member of the NCRI, National Council of Resistance of Iran, the Mujahideen Khalq, has resistance units on the ground inside of Iran and has penetrated its nuclear weapons program. We'll remember as far back as August of 2002, it was the NCRI that held simultaneous press conferences in August of 2002 in Paris and in Washington, D.C., for the first time publicly blowing the lid off of Iran's nuclear weapons program. NCRI has subsequently since then revealed much more on a consistent and regular basis about that nuclear weapons program. including, as I said, the briefings back in December and then January this year about the acceleration
All right, we're going to have to wrap
of
it up.
warhead development.
Yeah. Mark had a question. Is it believed that an attack can destroy the complete system that Iran has? Probably not, but we'll leave that as a cliffhanger for another show. Hey, ladies, thank you very, very much. Mark back there, Mary. We'll see you next Monday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Tell your friends, send them the link, and we appreciate you coming together. Have a wonderful week, and whatever you can do to help America, do it this week. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.